Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about a smaller winter storm that's going to be impacting regions of the Mid-Atlantic and also up into the northeastern United States. Before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also be sure to share this video with your friends and family if they live in the affected regions here during this video. Let's get right into things. First things first, we're looking at our warnings, watches, and advisories here, and you can see we have some winter weather advisories there for West Virginia, and then down through North Carolina as well. All of these regions are going to be expecting the potential for upwards of 3 inches plus. So again, a smaller winter storm here, but probably the biggest one we've had for these regions so far, maybe with the exception of the mountainous regions. But for some of the lower elevation areas, it's actually one of the bigger snowstorms we've had all year. And then we can see a little bit of upstate New York has a winter weather advisory as well, where we're potentially expecting some lake effect, enhanced snow, things like that. That's actually going to add to the totals up there, but that's not going to be taken into our account of our total snowfall there at the end of the storm. We're going to be particularly talking about the snow that is associated with this low pressure system that's going to be heading through the Mid-Atlantic, offshore, and then up, potentially up the East Coast, and that's really going to be a big player in this storm as well. And it's going to be telling to, just a few miles can really change the impacts of this storm. It's going to be very exciting to forecast this one with you guys. We're about to get into our simulated radar, where we're going to take a much closer look at what the impacts of this storm are going to be. It's going to be starting tomorrow on Tuesday the 7th and then lasting until Wednesday the 7th. Let's get into that. Alright, so as you can see here, we're starting out, there's not a lot on the screen here. This is a very high resolution simulated radar. Since we're so short range with this one, we're so close to when the storm is starting. The models have struggled in the medium range, so I've been drawing these storms closer and closer, not making a video about them until we're very, very close to the storm. And that's what I've done with this one, so we're going to see if that impacts how well these models are doing. Now you can see we do have some lake effect going on up there for the New England states of the United States, like I said before, but not a lot of precipitation down south yet. Let's move on a frame, and this is going to be by about 1 a.m. on on Tuesday, but it's going to be Monday night heading into Tuesday here. We see some precipitation starting up there for Texas, Louisiana, and through Mississippi and Alabama, and then also up into Tennessee and Kentucky. Now, this is what's eventually going to be our snowy precipitation there for the Mid-Atlantic. We can see particularly that precipitation that's building there for Tennessee and Kentucky is going to switch over to snow as it heads eastward. You can see that cold air to the north and to the west of it, so that's really going to help draw in the cold enough temperatures for snow to start falling. Let's move on one more frame, and we finally see our first little bit of blue, but notice that trough heads further and further south as the cold moves in, and that precipitation is building there on the Kentucky and Tennessee border, and then down there for Georgia and the North Carolina mountains as well, and that's all going to be what becomes our storm here. But we see our first little bit of blue, so snow is beginning to fall for Kentucky during this frame, and this is going to be, by the way, around, I would say, 5 or 6 a.m. on January 7th, and that's going to be a Tuesday. Now let's move on to another frame here where we're about to start to see very, very heavy snow begin with this one. Now, this is going to be by about 11 a.m. on Tuesday, January 7th, and we see very heavy snow there on the border of Kentucky, Virginia, and then through into most of West Virginia, where you see those very, very dark blues. That's where very heavy snow is going to be falling. It's going to be very quick. As you can see, this is already by 11 a.m., and it's already just racing out of here, but the snow is so heavy that we might end up getting a few inches for some select regions. Like I mentioned before, this isn't going to be some sort of long-lived, very long storm. It's just going to be very short and quick, but really might be intense in some areas, and that's what's really going to lead to these potentially 3 to maybe even 4 or 5 inch amounts for some areas there in Kentucky, West Virginia, and maybe even into Virginia as well. We will be talking a lot about our total snowfall at the end of this video. Let's move on one more frame, and this is going to be by about, I would say, 4 p.m. on January 7th here, and you can see it's mostly in the areas of northern Virginia and then the borders there of West Virginia, Maryland, and even into south central Pennsylvania as well. This is where we're going to be dealing with moderate to heavy snow for a lot of these regions, Winchester, Virginia, maybe even close to DC as well. This snow is going to be falling, and this is an area where we're expecting probably under 3 inches of snow, so I would say probably 1 or 2 inches of snow for these regions where snow is falling. Let's move on another frame, and you can see it really begins to lighten up where we're not seeing a lot of snow falling anymore. This is going to be by about 9 p.m. on January 7th here, and we can see that there is light snow there for DC over into Baltimore and then northern Delaware there, as well as some areas in south central New Jersey, but the coastal region is mostly getting rain there. And there is going to be some light accumulations probably for some of these regions where we could see a dusting to maybe an inch, but this is where it's going to be much, much shorter lived and very, very quickly moving out of these regions. Now we're about to move on and take a look at where it's going to start to impact New Jersey a lot more, and then even some areas in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. All right, and this frame right here is only a couple of hours later than our most previous one, and we can see that areas closer to the coast of New Jersey are starting to get impacted right at the tail end of it. Again, maybe a dusting here, but I wouldn't even say you would probably see any accumulation for these regions. New York City might see some snow or some snow showers, but really I think it's going to be a dusting, if that, for these regions. But you'll at least see flakes as the snow moves in, though this is going to be probably by about 10 or 11 p.m. here on Tuesday, January 7th. So that's going to be tomorrow from the time I'm uploading this video. Now, as we move on towards about 1 a.m., you can see the storm is moving so fast that it already has some snow showers there for the areas like Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and then even Cape Cod in the very far southern areas in Massachusetts, but really not much else besides that on this model. It really begins to become snow showers up there for interior New England. This enhances the snow showers out there, but really not much else going on here, and that's going to be by about 7 a.m. on Wednesday, January 8th on this frame. Now, let's take a look at your European model, and it's not much different here. We're starting out things. This is going to be by about 11 a.m. on Tuesday, January 7th. We see that heavier snow there for Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia. Then by about 9, or this is actually probably closer to about 11 p.m., we see that snow for D.C., Baltimore, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey. And the reason I wanted to show this model is it has the snow a little bit more widespread as it goes offshore there, so that is potentially a possibility there that we see a little bit more snowfall for eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey, as well as areas like Connecticut and Long Island. We didn't see the NAM model showing that whatsoever. And then you can see it becomes snow showers at the end of the run here, probably by about 11 a.m. on Wednesday. Now, let's get into your total snowfall on the models, and then we're going to get into our official snowfall outlook, which is going to be also very, very exciting. So as you can see here on the NAM 3KM model, this is the total snowfall. We see in those blue colors, that's where we're going to be under 3 inches. And then in the purple is the areas where they expect us to potentially see over 3 inches of snow. So you can see a little bit of Kentucky, possibly up into mostly just West Virginia, but maybe the mountaintops of North Carolina and Virginia as well, are the main areas that we're expecting to potentially see 3 to even 5 inches of snow, maybe even approaching 6 in some areas. Now, your NAM 12KM is a lot more realistic. I like this model a lot. I think this one and the European model are the closest. Again, I'll show you guys the European model a little bit later. We see in those pinks and purples is where we're particularly looking at the chance for 3 to 5 inches or maybe even 6. So now we're looking at the GFS, and it pretty much just looks the same as that NAM 12KM model that I just showed. So it's practically the same. And then here's your European model. We see this one is I think the most realistic. We see the blue colors there from Kentucky in through West Virginia, and then portions of Virginia, Maryland, and southern Pennsylvania. And then really outside of that, it's just some isolated regions in the Northeast where it's very, very spotty. And that's going to be our 2 to 6 inch amounts there, anywhere within the blue. But I think really the 3 inch plus amounts are mostly for the extreme eastern regions of Kentucky in through West Virginia and then into Virginia. Now, let's get into our official snowfall forecast from Direct Weather. We can get an idea of what we're forecasting for this storm. First things first, here's our dusting to 3 inch region. Anywhere within this white region, I'm expecting a dusting to 3 inches. And then you can see for the very northern regions there in New England and upstate New York, I say some snowfall, but very spotty. There's going to be some areas within that white region that don't see any snowfall, and then some areas within that see a lot of snowfall, maybe in higher elevation areas seeing closer to maybe even 3 to 6 inches of snow, but it's going to be very spotty. And very difficult and challenging to forecast for those regions. Now let's add our second layer, and this is our 3 to 6 inch layer for this area from Kentucky into West Virginia and then into Virginia for the most part, a little bit there, as well as a little bit of Maryland as well. So we see 3 to 6 inches mostly for that lighter blue shade. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends and family if they live in the impacted regions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.